Hey y'all, it's your girl Queenie. Welcome to another and our last Monday motivation conversation. And today, first of all, I'm so excited because today, I hope y'all can hear me okay. If y'all are watching out there on YouTube or anywhere, go ahead and share this, okay? So, anyway, today we are talking to a really good friend of mine. Her name is Sharon Lawrence. She's a therapist, God, speaker, life coach, therapist to therapist, and so much more. Oh yeah, she's an author as well. That's why I showed y'all this book, right? So the Let Go. So today we're talking about letting go. We're talking about guilt, grudges, fears, and insecurities, and just so much more. I mean, I think that we're all kind of dealing with something, right? Sometimes we're still carrying around baggage from relationships, from life ships, from whatever ship, right? Well, today we're going to talk about how we're going to let those things go, how we can tackle them. I think that guilt keeps us down. I think that fears keeps us back. I think insecurities keeps us back. And sometimes those grudges that we act like we don't have, yeah, they keep us back too. So join me in this conversation, this discussion with Miss Sharon Lawrence. And yeah, bring it all here to us. Leave a comment, ask your questions, and just enjoy the show. We want to motivate and inspire you. So I hope you enjoy it like I will. All right, let's bring her in. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Queenie. How are you?
Honey, I am good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Yes, Monday motivation. This is good
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. Well, thank you, look, sweetie. You're looking fantabulous over there.
Thank
Um,
you. So are you. Look like
Thank
sunshine
you.
today.
Ah! And listen, I know that you are so busy doing a lot of things. So let me first start by saying thank you for taking the time out for me here at the Relationship Zone to talk about this thing that I love so much.
Absolutely. Anything for you, Queenie. I'm like, what you
Oh
need? I'm
my God.
here.
I
I'm here for it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I
You
love it.
know
I
that.
love it. You
Yeah.
are something. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's get started. I shared this story every time I come on a Monday. When I initially said, let's do Monday motivations, I had no idea what it was going to look like. I felt that it was needed. I felt that it was necessary. And I felt that I knew some amazing people that could contribute to this motivating, kind of energy that I wanted to create. And you're here to close us out.
I'm excited about it. We're going to do just that. And it's going to be
Yeah.
good, y'all.
so I do believe that we should set our intention, and my intention for this conversation, like every other conversation, is for people that may be heavy, will come and they'll find a way to make their load lighter. People that may not be as inspired today will come and they will find some inspiration. Those that feel a lack in motivation, they'll come and something we'll say or share will inspire and motivate them for the rest of their journey. So that is my intention for us. But it's also to inform individuals. And I feel that that's what you are so good at doing. So,
Thank you. I'm grateful. I'm honored to be here.
yeah, yeah. Tell us, Miss Lawrence, what have you been up to? During 2021. I know you got a lot going on, but what's new with you? What's happening?
Woo! Can I say everything? And
Everything.
so everything. So where 2020 was kind of like a halt for a lot of people. For me, it was a transition. We relocated to Florida, and so my business expanded. So I am now over Sailor for Maryland, but I'm also over Sailor Wellness and Therapeutic Services for Florida, and I also launched SJL Professional Services, which is my coaching and speaking business
Yeah.
and training business. That's those are all the components that used to be under Sailor, but I have now separated them. And then I've also started a t-shirt line, SJ Lawrence
Ah,
Collection. So, and that's on top of all the books and the writing and the speaking and the training and seeing my clients who were there,
yes.
who come to me for mental health. So it's been pretty busy. Trust me, it's been very busy. There's never a dull moment, and I'm officially a dog mom. So yeah, Sherry's my baby, and I'm pretty busy.
Oh
And
my
being a wife,
goodness.
right? That doesn't
Yes,
stop.
and being a wife.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've expanded. So you've gone from Maryland to Florida. The
Mhm.
business has obviously started to even boom down in Florida. You got this
Well,
clothing
we
line,
haven't
which
no clients yet, only one in
no
Florida,
content.
but everyone is still intact for
Absolutely.
Maryland.
Look at that.
And
Look at that.
then I've hired my first person. So my goal is to have 8 people before the end of the year.
Oh my goodness. Look
Yeah.
at you. And look, let me see this shirt you got on. You said you got a clothing line. What?
Balance
Okay.
boldly. So anyone who follows me knows that for the past 3 years I've had the Balance Boldly movement. This is about self care,
Yes.
relationships, setting good boundaries. And
Hmm.
so I figured it's time to start. I've been sitting on this for 2 years. It's
Yeah.
important that I actually start putting this message out there that people can wear it as reminders, but to also encourage someone else. Like, let it be a conversation starter as well. Like,
Yeah.
what is your shirt about? Oh, it's about me walking boldly and setting
Yeah.
boundaries and having good relationships with myself and others. So that's
Oh,
what this is about. But on that website, SJ Lawrence Collection, you'll see all types of messages. So
nice.
there's something
Nice.
for
So
everyone, even
I
for moms.
okay,
Yeah.
I gotta go get me something because I'm loving this shirt. I love the colors. I love it. It's beautiful. So
Thank you. Thank you.
maybe
The
next time
Marvel
you see
movement,
me,
right?
I'll be rocking it. I'll be rocking something.
All right, all right. I'm excited.
All right. So for all of you that are watching, you see the website, definitely go and check her out. And I'll put the website up once more before we close out. All right. So Sharon,
Yes.
this book.
Ooh,
And
that
I
was
know
the
you
book
have
right there.
look, you know you have a few books under your belt. This one,
Yeah.
this one, this one was so
Uh-huh.
good. I want to talk about what inspired you to write this book, first of all. And I used even reading it, I used it, when I was thinking about what will, our topic be. And I'm like, you know what, letting go in order to grow. That makes sense to
Hmm.
me, right? So, what inspired this book for you?
So it's interesting because Alicia, who was once my supervisor, over the years we've just developed a really good friendship, and so we would share a lot of different stories about experiences that
Mhm.
we've had. And I can remember driving down 214, speaking to her about, like we really should do a book. And as we kept talking, I was like, what about the let go? She was like, oh,
Yeah.
Sharon. Now, anyone who knows Alicia knows that she's real animated. She gets really, oh, that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
Like she's going to egg you on. And you're like, okay, we're in it now. But what ended up happening is that when Alicia started writing, she could not stop.
Wow.
And her, as you read the book, so you'll see her
Yes.
stories way more deeper than mine.
Mhm.
And I had to make a decision. How much was I ready to share?
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
so
mm.
I said, okay, I'm gonna be the balance. I'm gonna be obedient and share what I need to share. But
Mhm.
it was a good balance from the more simple stuff, or I
Yeah.
should say the more milder experiences
Yes.
to the severe. And I felt like that was a good balance between the two of us to
Mhm.
share what it's like for people who are going through different stages of trauma or, challenging relationships,
Mhm.
even being able to say, okay, how do I forgive even the most horrific
Oh,
event that took place? And
yeah.
even down to something that people will say, oh, you could have just got over that, but not realizing that if it's a pattern in your life, something
Mhm.
so simple to one person may not be as simple to another.
Yeah.
And so for me, just in that moment, I realized that we had something to share. And I was like, what do you think? And let's do it. And we kind of sat for a minute and I was like, are you writing yet? No, I ain't get anything yet. And before I knew it, once she started
Mhm.
writing, I said, oh Lord, I better catch up. And so she took off. She took off like somebody revved up the engine. And I was like, okay, I better
Yeah.
catch up to Alicia. Otherwise, she's going to be writing a solo project. And honestly, believe it or not, at one point I tried to give her this book. She would not do it solo. I tried
Wow.
to just let it be her project. And she was like,
Wow.
no, you asked me, we have to do it. We're in this together. And so I'm
Yeah.
appreciative of that. And people love it. We've gotten a great response. And so please get it, everyone. It really is about, we talked the word that you said, being able to kind of grow forward. I think that that's the key thing, being able to grow forward, not just move forward, but grow as you're
Go
moving forward.
forward.
I think
Yeah.
that that's very
Yeah.
key. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I got from it. It truly was, again, and I think, many of us, we've been doing this, self-help, and we've been working on ourselves. We're doing shadow work, but it is an ongoing process. It's not just I did it and I'm good, I'm fixed. No, it's,
Right.
you
Right.
still got to manage that stuff, right? You still have to. It's like weeds. You constantly got to tend to the weeds in your life. But
Mhm.
when I read this book, I was like, this is so good. And of course, I did add on in order to grow, because I just thought it was just so important. Like, what's the whole point of
Mhm.
letting things go, right? It's so that
Right.
you can move forward,
Mhm.
and for me, I seek growth. So let go in order to grow. That makes
Mhm. Yeah.
perfect sense. So I thank you, ladies, for writing this book. I thank you for all
Thank
that you contributed to it. And
thank
I would
you.
tell you,
Thank
anyone
you.
that's watching, it's an easy read. But there's some depth to it. So read it, because it definitely makes you think and reflect, and
Mhm.
it actually challenges you, in the
Yeah,
spaces
because there's
that
prompts in it. There's prompts
yeah,
in there as well. That's
yes,
gonna
yes,
make you question what you're actually responding to, how you're responding to it, and how
it's,
you kind of do the work to move forward. So yes, it yeah,
it's
you're
really
gonna
good.
have some
Yeah.
moments of reflection. Yes.
Yes, definitely. So thank you so much, and thank you, Alicia, for
You're
writing
welcome.
for this. Yeah, go get the book.
In the book,
All right.
y'all.
Yeah, go get the book. So Sharon, I wanted to talk with you about grudges, guilt, fear, and insecurities. I personally believe that these things can hold many of us back. And if we don't do the work, and I think if we don't acknowledge it, they stay with us, and sometimes they rule and control our life. So I want to get your take on these things. I would like to start with grudges, and you just give me your thoughts on it. Mine is simply that, a grudge is it's like a prison cell, and and we all know that forgiveness is the key, but that's not always easy, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk a little
It
bit
is.
about grudges and how they impact, our life, and how they may stunt our growth.
Mm. You know, I would tell anyone that when you have an initial feeling that you feel like you have to hold on to a grudge, I actually will give people permission.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel what you feel, because I
Hmm.
think that that is part of the process. It's like even when you're grieving something, people try to rush you
Yeah.
through the grieving. It's fine. Everything's going to be okay. They're in a better place, and you should
Hmm.
really be happy. They'll say things that they think are helping, and it's really not.
Right.
And so with grudges, sit with it for a while. Find out,
Hmm.
why are you so bothered by what happened, or what
Yeah.
happened to you. I think I always ask people, I'll say, did you have any part in this? Are
Yeah.
you angry because they just outwardly did something to you? Were they responding to something that you did to them and you didn't like that they got you back? Like, find out what it is that's making you so angry,
Right.
because there's always a story behind that reaction and that feeling. And then
Yeah.
sit with it for a while. Even if you know you had some wrong in it, be okay, be in your feelings for a minute, but you still have to address it.
Hmm.
You still have to be willing to address it, whether it's with that person or with yourself. You cannot act as if it didn't just happen or why it happened. You have to explore it a little bit. But I would say, give yourself permission to feel what you feel. I'm angry, because then you have something to kind of work with. But if
Yeah.
you leave it there, they're not in bondage. They're going to move on eventually. You're going to stay stuck because you won't let that thing go.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
when you don't let stuff go, it has to go somewhere in your body. Bessel van der Kolk has a book called The Body Keeps the Score. I referenced this a lot. People always hear me talk about this.
Yes.
And in that book, he talks about how when you go through traumatic experiences, things that you have been exposed to, that trauma is going to rest in your body. And so
Hmm.
when you're talking about fibromyalgia, stomach issues, digestion, headaches, migraines, whatever it is, that stuff could be a sign of the stuff that you won't let go.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to that. Issues with sleeping, eating too much, not eating enough, weight gain, weight loss, heart conditions. All of these things are a sign. So if you're not addressing the stress, where do you
Yeah.
think it's going to go? It's not like osmosis. No,
Yeah.
it rests somewhere in there. It's
Yeah.
going to sit. It's almost like when people say, they're having a lot of chest pains. They're probably holding something in their heart, right? You go, when
Yeah.
people are often holding a lot of stress, where's the first place they feel it? In their chest. So where do you
Chest.
think the
Yeah.
muscles are working the most, right? All in there.
Mhm.
And I'm not a doctor, so somebody's gonna say, that's not how it works, Sharon. Let me talk for a minute. And so because it's going somewhere. It's going somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you have to be mindful of that. When you're holding on to that, think about the tension in your shoulders,
Yeah.
right? People are always like,
Yes.
well, you don't even realize you're sitting like until somebody says relax, and you go, oh, even
Mm-hmm.
if I just gave this one simple task to everyone who's watching, just take a deep breath, let it go, and literally just go limp and ask yourself, do you feel a little bit lighter?
Yeah.
Because for some people, they don't even know how tight they're sitting. I sleep that way sometimes, and my husband will say, "Babe, what have you gone through? Did somebody hurt you?" And I'm like, "No,
You all balled
I
up.
just like I'm stoic." Yeah, I'm like, "Whoa," And so, because he'll tell me I'm like doing kung fu in my sleep, and I'm like, "No, I'm not." But he's like, and so I'm probably just trying to sleep, right? And so, but I would tell people you got to pay attention to your body language. And even when they talk about mindfulness, Queenie, I know I'm
Yeah.
probably jumping in here a little bit. I'm
No, no,
sorry, but
please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. So when you talk about mindfulness, it really is about being in that moment and allowing yourself to connect with whatever activity you're in. So even with eating, you have some people that literally will just scoff down their food. Mindfulness with eating will tell you slow down. So even when you're dealing with something, take a moment to slow down. And
Yeah.
you literally will start to feel that stuff lifting from you when you become more connected to trying to understand what's happening internally. But you
Yeah.
have to pay attention to it. And I'll talk a little bit more about the forgiveness. I know you have a couple of other questions. I want to talk about some childhood stuff that also feeds into the patterns of how people end up acting in their adult relationships. So I'm going to
Yeah.
pause right there because I don't want to jump too far ahead.
I mean, honey, this is so good. Let me come up. Look, let me share the stage with you. Let me share the stage with you, girl.
Okay,
It's
okay, okay.
organic.
Okay.
No, this is
No, you
it's
say
so
like this. I
good.
like
It's
I
so
see your
good when
face.
you're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, I don't think we're aware. When I'm stressed, I clear my forehead, and I've had people to go to me and just smooth my forehead out, and it makes me then become mindful that, oh, I was showing whatever was going on internally, I was showing it externally. When
Right.
we hold on, I totally agree with you. When we hold on to these things, and I've talked about this before. I think I talked about this in your group before,
Mhm,
especially like
mhm.
when we don't forgive, right? Or the grudge or whatever that thing is that we haven't dealt with, when we hold on
Mhm.
to it and we come around a person that has obviously inflicted some type of pain, we
Right.
immediately our body responds. So
Right.
definitely I agree that, maybe the emotional eating, maybe the migraine headache, maybe the palpitations, maybe the anxiety, maybe it's the
Mhm.
same whenever we go through like this euphoric feeling in love, right? Our body responds.
Exactly.
It's happy.
Yes. Yes.
But it's also the
Yes.
same way when we're sad and we're hurt and we're mad and we're angry and we can't get it out, it goes within.
That's right. And
I've
thank
been
you for
burning up
saying
with
that
love
because
before.
right, people say enjoy it. No one rushes you through that process,
Nobody
but when
wants
you
to.
have a difficult moment, they want to rush you through it to get over it. And I'm going, why are
Yeah,
people rushing you through a process that you need to
yeah,
learn and grow from? But they're
yeah,
encouraging you when it feels good. Like, no,
yeah.
just like you take the time to be in the moment with that,
I
take the time
love
to
it.
work through your stuff. Slow
Yes.
down. And don't be so quick because that a lot of times you end up repeating the same types of behaviors and patterns in relationships because you don't address things the right way. So you got to be really careful.
Mhm. Oh, I
Yeah.
love it, Sharon. I love it. See, I told y'all. So maybe this conversation for me, because I'm telling you, girl, I
Right,
knew
right.
like talking about this, it just opens up our minds to think and see things just a little bit different in a more
Right.
healthy way. So I can, oh, I love it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So let's move on. So, we're talking about grudges, right? And as you
Yes.
know, I've said before, like I think that guilt is like holding on or holding a grudge right against your own self. And I
Mhm.
know that
Mhm.
some people may not agree with that, but I think it is because when you feel guilty, you kind of it's I mean, it prevents you again from growing. So tell me your thoughts about guilt, the guilt that we carry.
Guilt is basically, it's like you're taking responsibility, but then you won't let it go.
Hmm.
It's almost as if, okay, I know I did this, but you won't forgive yourself.
Hmm.
And the reality is that we will ask, you know, individuals to forgive us. It's almost like when people
Yeah,
say, God forgave you, forgive yourself.
yeah,
Like, it's almost as if you're like, okay, God forgave me, but I still have to punish myself. Well, if God is not beating you up, why are you beating yourself up?
yeah.
And I think that when you go to that person or you release that situation, go ahead and release that guilt, because basically
Yes,
when you go
yes.
to that individual, or when you verbalize it, or vocally
Hmm.
put it out there to other people
Hmm.
who are your friends, who say, hey, I messed up with this other person or whatever, you're putting it in the atmosphere. That means
Hmm.
you're taking ownership of your actions. And by
Yes.
doing that, that's the beginning of you releasing that burden.
Mm.
I always tell individuals, when you're walking through the airport, they always talk about don't carry stuff that doesn't belong to you, right? So the
Hmm.
minute
Hmm.
you
Yes.
release it, let it go. Stop carrying that stuff like it's another bag that you have to carry constantly. Let it
Yeah.
go. Donate it,
Yeah.
not to a person, to the emotional dumpster somewhere else in the osmosis, but
Yeah.
put it somewhere, but don't keep it with you.
Don't keep it with
Be
you.
willing to let that stuff go.
Yes.
Because if you've done the work and you're talking about it, this is the other thing, Queen, I think that we have to keep in mind when we're looking for people to forgive us and you're talking about guilt, the relationship may not look the way it did before. And you
Yes.
have to be willing to be okay with that. Meaning you have to say to yourself, okay, can I move forward knowing that the relationship, you know, can't be restored, or I can't
Yeah.
undo what has been done? Be willing to just say, I did the best I could. How do I correct my behavior moving forward?
Mhm.
Um, but you have to be willing to say, okay, I forgive myself. Let
Yeah.
me let me try to do something better with my life and not hold on to this, because it's holding me hostage at this
Yes.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff. I heard another person say the self talk was, "I forgive myself now. Guilt let me go." Woo! That was
Mm,
so powerful when I heard
wow.
this
So
individual say
as
it,
if
and they said it in a
guilt was waiting
prayer.
for you.
Yeah,
Wow.
they said it
So
in a
guilt was
prayer.
waiting for you to do it so that guilt can
Yeah.
say, okay, now you're free to go. Almost
Yes.
like you're waiting
Yes.
for the magic password or something.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I love that.
It just hit so different. And she was saying it in a prayer, and
Mm,
it just hit different. I
wow.
have forgiven myself. Now guilt, let me go. I was,
I love that.
I mean, it gives me chills when I say it, even, and it was just as,
Yeah.
it was just as much of an experience. And it was a moment where, again, just kind of thinking how we talk, do to talk to ourselves, or having a conversation within
Mhm,
ourselves, saying, and giving yourself grace and permission,
mm,
giving yourself the permission to do a thing. It was when I
right.
heard her command guilt to set her free and let her go, I was just like, wow, that is powerful. I think
Wow.
more of us should do that.
Absolutely. I love
Sometimes you
that.
got to speak
You
to
hear
that
that
thing.
person's name. We need to quote that on the Let Go page, because
Yeah.
I think that that's the biggest piece right there.
Yeah.
A lot of times, next Monday I'll be talking about being on the other side of forgiveness, when you're the
Yeah.
person that needs to be forgiven, because so
Woo.
often we talk about forgiveness from the perspective of what someone did to us. But what
Hmm.
have you done
Yeah.
that you need to be able to be forgiven from, or
Yeah.
forgive yourself for what you did?
Yeah.
And so I love that, because I think that's really what it is. Give yourself permission to move forward so guilt can let
Yeah.
you go. Be
Yes.
free.
Oh,
Be
be
free.
free. I mean, every time, like, even when I hear that, it still just, it resonates with me. Like, that is so
Yeah.
powerful. And it's such a
Hmm.
beautiful, powerful mindset to, establish for yourself. Like, wait a
Right.
minute. You know,
Exactly.
I forgave myself, Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I heard you say, like on the, you're going to be talking about this on Monday, the other side of, when you're on the other side of forgiveness, right? When you're on the receiving end of being forgiven, basically. Um, and this has nothing to do with our talk, but it may have everything to do with our talk, just because you brought that up. I posted today on my social media, something dropped in my spirit about accountability. And because you just said that, right? That person is being forgiven. I would think that at some point they obviously held themselves accountable for the action.
Mhm.
Can you tell me your thoughts about accountability? Just, I know we didn't go over this, we didn't talk about it, but just the importance of accountability in any working relationships, right? Tell me your thoughts on that.
I think accountability is necessary. You have to be willing um, to have accountability for yourself and also trust someone else to hold you accountable. There should
Mhm.
always be someone in your life who can function from that perspective when they say things like, I can't see the forest for the trees. So you're so close
Yeah.
up on a situation, you can't see what else is happening around it.
Hmm.
And you need individuals in your life who can catch those other things when you can't. But
Yeah.
the goal is that you tell yourself, let me back up far enough so I
Hmm.
can see the forest and see things from a different perspective. The goal
Right.
is that you are in a position that you're not so high that you don't think that you're exempt from things that may come your way or things that you have to take responsibility for.
Hmm.
Uh, that's one of the most challenging situations that you find in relationships, is because you will see that something will happen and they may project or they may deflect. They
Hmm.
may even gaslight someone because they're trying not to take responsibility. It
Right.
pains them to
Hmm.
take responsibility.
Right.
And it's hurtful because that means that they're not perfect. So you're talking
Mm.
about some possible narcissistic tendencies or just simple pride. It may not go as far as being on a narcissistic level, but
Right.
simple pride or never ever practicing humility or the ability to say, hey, I was wrong. Let me repair this.
Right.
So that's where that accountability comes in. And a lot of times people can't learn accountability for themselves until they have someone that they trust to show them
Hmm.
some things out loud. And then they go, okay, I can see where I messed up. And then they start to learn that behavior
Yeah.
because they may not be in a position where they catch it right away.
Right, right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Sharon. I definitely, I wanted to, because again, like I said, I posted on my page earlier and it dropped in my spirit, and I've been doing a little bit of study. I said, let me just put that out there because someone may be dealing with it, right? They may be dealing with a lack of accountability, on their own side, or even, maybe a family member or a friend or a lover, or, maybe even a boss, right? A
Absolutely.
boss. you know,
Absolutely.
this comes in all shapes and colors. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
yeah. So if anyone's
And
listening, you're dealing with,
especially in workplace relationships, and that seems to be a
yes,
big piece because people are still working very hard, whether they're at home or back in the building. They have really strained relationships with leadership, and
absolutely.
a lot of times it's like do as I say, not as I do, and do what I tell you to do. Don't ask any questions,
Yeah.
and that can be a challenge because you're trying to do things the right way, but it may be a struggle. So this can go across
Yeah.
the board, no matter what type
Definitely.
of relationship you're currently in.
Definitely. All right. So let's move into fear and insecurities. I lump those things together because I think that they go together oftentimes. So fear
Mhm.
and insecurities, and they're a huge component of my own personal emotional baggage at times, right? So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on managing the fear and insecurities within relationships of all sorts?
Mhm.
I know this is a big one.
Yeah, it is. But I,
It's
I
a big
love
one.
questions like this because,
Yeah.
Queenie, for me, I think it's so important that people embrace whatever they're feeling in that moment. Just don't
Yeah.
stay there and be trapped.
Yeah.
I think fear is normal. Like even when I met my husband, I was like, even on the first date, I was like, I think that I'll say it because we're married now. But on the first date, I was like, God, you are funny. I knew who he was on the first date, and I said nothing to anyone because I said they're going to think I am, what, crazy.
Yeah.
And I said nothing, Queenie. I said
Yeah.
nothing. Um, but I still allowed myself. I didn't just ignore and go, well, I think he the one, and that's it. I don't have to do
Yeah.
anything. No,
Yeah.
we worked towards it, and it moved very fast. For
It
people that know
did.
our story, and some people who don't,
Yeah.
we got married 9 months later. This June, we will be celebrating 7 years of marriage. This is the
Oh.
longest relationship I have ever been in, other than being a sibling.
Yeah.
So, and well, I can't say I have some really good friends that I've been friends with for
Yeah.
about 20 years. So, but I would say when it comes to fear, you really do have to embrace it,
Yeah.
just like all the other things we talked about earlier. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable to
Mm.
connect with those feelings,
Yes.
and not push them away. And don't necessarily, when people always say, if you have fear, that's a sign you should just leave that alone.
Right, right,
No,
right.
again, step back and figure
Yeah.
out what is actually in front of me.
Mhm.
What are the things that are being presented to me right now? Because when you do that, you get to figure out what it is you're exactly afraid of. What are your feelings actually tied to? And
Mhm.
I think the minute you do that, it makes a difference. But if you jump on what somebody's, oh, they said run, girl, that's your gut telling you you need to get away from that. You don't know
Mhm.
what you're walking away from. It might be the
Right.
best thing that ever happened to you. It might be the greatest opportunity. It
Yeah.
may require some work. Maybe that's what causes you to be fearful, because you're now being challenged to do something that you've never done before. And
Right.
so you have to be willing to say, okay, let me embrace this just a little bit and see what it's about. And once you can say you truly explored it from the left to the right, like
Yeah.
take your time, then you can say, okay, let me make my decision. But I think fear is something that is normal. It's like when you're going on a job interview. I did a presentation yesterday, and out of nowhere, Queenie, I got really nervous. I was like, why am I so nervous?
Oh my
Normally I get a
goodness.
little nervous, but I literally was shaking. I'm messaging my girlfriend. I was like, girl, do I look nervous? I think my clothes about to be wet. Like, what's happening?
Yes.
And she was like, what is going on with you? I was like, I don't know. But, and then when I was done, I was like, whew. But, and everyone was like, that was good. I was like, thank you. But in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to like mess this up. Um, and I was prepared. I had everything, but the fear
Yeah.
really was kicking in. But I was like, "Girl, just keep moving. Okay, you got your notes. You got this. You got that." And I just kept looking at my screen. I had stuff. I had windows all open, and I just said, "Girl, embrace it. Roll with it. Use the energy." And I used the energy to bring humor, to bring
Yeah.
information. I start thinking of questions. Okay, what does this mean when you think of this? Put that in the chat, and that was helpful
Mhm.
for me. And so I think that you have to be willing to explore things a little bit. Don't see fear as an instant message to run.
Wow.
I
Mm.
think that that's the issue that I always have with people,
Yeah.
especially in relationships. We are so quick to be done. We belong to this new culture. We call it cancel culture, right?
Yeah, that's
If
it.
something's not
Mhm.
right, we are very quick to cancel relationship. And I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I've been
Mhm.
there. I think I have a lot more patience now than I did just a year or even 2 years ago,
Mhm.
where I'm like, okay, I can take ownership for that. I've always taken ownership of that. But what I found is that even in my life and in my experiences, I've had people who cancel me because maybe they didn't
Mhm.
like something that I said. And here I'm like, I think I'm pretty cool. But I
Yeah.
also know that I may have some insight, and sometimes I may give some unsolicited information. Not as a
Yeah.
therapist, y'all, not as a therapist, but but I think that it's important that you recognize your own behaviors, because we are human. And so
Mhm.
you're not going to always get it right all of the time, but you have to be willing to say, look, go back to that accountability piece. What is
Yeah.
it that you need to do to correct these things? And if it
Absolutely.
means you have to move through fear while you learn about yourself and the relationships that you're in,
Mhm.
that's the best decision you can ever make. And even if you decide to move forward, you can say, I invested my time
Yeah.
into that. I think
Yes.
that that's important. Did you walk away knowing you did everything you could
Mhm.
to say, I showed up and I made myself available?
Available.
I was here, but I'm not going to do anything else. I'm here. You do the work. No, we're
Right.
doing the work together. That's the other piece.
Yeah.
That's where that vulnerability comes in.
Oh, yes. Girl, you said a mouthful. See, when you start talking about I love it. I mean, because when we start talking about doing the work together and holding your own self accountable, and then, releasing the fears and all. I mean, I eat all this up, and I know the others are too, because this is good stuff. These are things that we deal with every day.
Mhm.
And
Every
even
day.
more so when you are working to become more and more healthy and more authentically you. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like when you're seeking authenticity within yourself. And again, I'm also talking about in being kind and being a better person, just overall, right? I'm better contributor to the world. These things are they're very important. I mean, I know for me they're very, very important, right? They're very important. And I like you, I haven't always gotten it right,
Mhm.
I've been
Oh,
canceled.
I'll tell you, I messed up. But I realized I look up like, oh, I got canceled. Oh, I got booted. Oh, okay. I'm a little bit more gracious than that. Okay. But I realized, okay, you
you
may
know,
not work for everyone.
exactly, and I do say that. I say the same thing. I'm like, I may not be everyone's cup of tea. Well, one, intent don't always matter to the other person on the receiving end. However, I do know
Mm-hmm.
that my intent is this, right? My intent is to deliver and lead with love, and
Mm-hmm.
still standing my truth. But even in that, sometimes I may not be everybody's cup of tea because I said something that might have been offensive. And I hold myself accountable to that. If someone says, Queenie, you said something that really did hurt me or offended me, and I have to deal with that at my job with the residents that I work for. Um, but and I will hold my own personal self accountable, and then I go back and I look and I try to figure out, like, why did you respond or react that way, or why did you, how could you handle this better? Because what I hope in my life, I finally learned how to build and hold on to very good relations. I think I've done really well, but I want to continue. I want to stay doing this thing well. So I think these things here, just working on the guilt for me, I have to deal with the fear and the insecurities, because sometimes the fear is from failure, right? A fear of failing, even a memory of failing, and the insecurities, excuse me, may come from. I don't know where they come from. Like you said, like you get up there and you think you got it all together, and then you're standing there and suddenly something takes over you. But we must push past
Alien.
it.
Yes.
Right. Someone takes over our
Yes.
body, but
Yes.
we must
Yes.
push past it. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you
Yep.
got to find it inside of yourself to push past it. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a
Mm-hmm.
second. We have Emma. She said hello to you. I put it up there a second. So I wanted to
Hi,
just say hello
Emma.
to Emma as well. And so we're going to get back into this. And again, there's so many different things we could talk about, Sharon. We have only about 20 more minutes, but I want to leave space for a few things, right?
Okay. Okay.
Space for emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Now, tell me a bit about your thoughts on emotional intelligence. Two part. One, as a therapist, and two,
Mm-hmm.
just as a woman of this beautiful space that we share together called the
Mm.
world.
Yeah. I feel like my life just gets clumped together a lot of times. But you're right; it
Yeah,
is separate. It is very
yeah,
separate. I would say, as a therapist, um, I think it's important that people learn everything what we've been talking about so far about that perspective.
yeah.
Sitting with where you are, being aware, understanding the perspective of others, understanding your
Mhm.
own perspective, that accountability, all of that ties into emotional intelligence. Where are you
Right.
and what position are you in that allows you to
Mhm.
make the corrections, to be mindful of your actions, and to make the connection or reconnection that's needed. But you
Mhm.
have to be willing to kind of step back and go, okay, what just happened?
Yeah.
And why did I respond the way that I did,
Mhm.
right? Or why are
Mhm.
they having a reaction? And how did I reconnect? Because when you're emotionally intelligent, you're picking up on stuff.
Mhm.
But if you dismiss or ignore or disregard, it shows you're not in tune with what's happening around you.
Mhm.
And so you can't be accountable. You can't forgive yourself. You can't forgive others. You're going to hold that grudge.
Yeah.
You're going to maintain that level of guilt, possibly, because you're not seeing anything from another perspective. Um, Not having emotional intelligence is going to be a hindrance to you in your relationship with yourself and your relationship with others. Because everything we've been talking about so far, Queenie, is
Yeah.
connected to emotional intelligence. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, what does that mean? I'm going to challenge all of you. Look it up. It's
Yeah.
very simple. It's really about being in tune with your feelings and understanding the feelings and the perspectives and the feel in the actions of others and why they may respond to certain things or why they may do certain things. You really have to be connected to that
Yeah.
and to yourself in order to know how you need to respond.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm here for it. You hit something for me though. In order for a person to be able to be in tune to others, they have to have a level of empathy. They have to be
Hmm.
able to feel that. I've met people and I've heard, situations where there is no empathy or very little empathy, so they can't understand the feelings of others. They just don't have it in them, and so therefore they do discard, they do dismiss, they do minimize, they do deflect and project. I mean, it's
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
horrible dance, right? It's a
Huh?
horrible
Hmm.
dance to watch.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is. And I think that when people step on this other side of knowing,
yeah,
or being in the know because it's intentional. So we're talking about that intentionality
yeah,
in these relationships. It makes all the difference. It really
yeah,
does. It means that you are committed to the process that you're in for yourself and with the other person.
yeah, yeah,
You can't approach anything without understanding that you play a role, like you said, in that dance. You're
yeah.
doing this together. Yeah, we can dance by ourselves, but it's better when you have a partner, right?
It's so
And so
much
if you have
better.
a partner,
Yeah.
you have a rhythm, you have a groove, you know.
Mm.
And whether it's for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, do it right.
Yeah.
Do it right. You can have 100 experiences. Do you want them to be negative or positive? And
Hmm.
even if some in negative, you can say, okay, but during that time, I know what I gave
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I know what I experienced, but I also know, okay, that wasn't for me long term, but I don't have any regrets. Walk
Yeah.
away with no regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. Walk away with no regrets. Y'all heard that? Walk away with no regrets. I
No
love it.
regrets.
No regrets. Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. So listen, okay, we're getting close to our close. However, I want to just, see if there's anything else you want to talk about, anything else you want to share, because again, we're giving a lot of information. We're touching on things that I believe that others can relate to. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that someone is asking, but how can I? Right? How can I gain the
Mhm.
emotional intelligence? How can I really release this grudge? How can I
Mhm.
start? If you could just let's just unpack just getting started so that we can let go in order to grow. Give us the start for someone that's listening tonight.
Awareness. Just
Awareness.
acknowledge are. Be aware of what you feel, your experience, the impact. For some people, they never really go back to
Mhm.
understanding the true impact of what they may have been through. And I would say it starts first with the acknowledgement and the awareness of what it is you're feeling and why you're feeling that way.
Mhm.
And if you're not sure how to say it out loud, journaling is always a plus. Pull out a piece of paper, get you a composition book. You can purchase one of my journals if you need some prompts. But either way, shameless plug. But you can definitely find a way to just start putting some things. And they do have tons of journals out there. You don't have to purchase mine, but there are
Yeah.
tons of journals out there that are really specific to helping people with prompts where they don't know what to think in that moment, but they need a little bit of help. So you can do Google and just see what's out there. But journaling is really helpful because journaling is scientifically proven to help reduce um, depression and anxiety because you're getting it out. It's very cathartic. Cathartic means releasing
Yeah.
something. And so the goal is that you get it out. You can't really deal with it if it's all tucked in there and
Yes. Yeah.
it's all compressed. That's where that tension is at. Start putting that stuff on paper. Put it
Mhm.
on paper and see where you are. Start there. The other thing is, and I said this in when I was speaking for the Let Go one Monday Motivate one Monday night actually, and I kind of just reminded everyone that forgiveness is a journey. And often people will try to tell you again to rush through things. It's your journey. Don't let anyone rush you. Just like I say, when people are grieving, don't allow anyone to ever rush you through grieving. It is your journey. Just don't remain stuck. When it starts disrupting parts of your life, then you should be concerned. But if you are grieving or having a moment of unforgiveness and you just need to work through it, deal with it. Take the time and see where you are. I think a lot of this is about perspective. Like when they
Yeah.
show that the number 9 or the number 6, and you have a person over
Yeah.
here and a person over here, and the
Yeah.
person says that's a 9, this one says no, that's a 6. It really is about perspective. Take a moment and just look at where you are, and be okay with that, and identify what you need to tackle first, and actually make a list. I'll add this one last thing, Queenie, is that make a list of how you want to tackle things one at a time. I often
Mhm.
talk about the Rubik's Cube. The first thing we do when we get a Rubik's Cube, we mess it all up. Well, that's how it feels when you have a lot of issues going on. So I tell
Yeah.
people, work on one color at a time when you're
Mhm.
putting things back together. Don't try to break it apart and just stick all the pieces where they need to go because you're doing a quick fix. Take the time and work on one color
Yeah.
at a time. That's easier when you can do that parts work. But if you're trying to rush through the process, you're not going to be able to fully embrace that healing or that ability to grow
Yeah.
through what it is that you're, dealing with. Again, if you heard me, I said grow through, not just go
Go
through.
through.
You don't want to
Yes.
just like run it through the store. You don't even know who you saw. No, grow through
Right.
means you're taking the process. There are roots that are new roots that are being formed, and so
Yeah.
that you have a healthy plant. You are life. And so the
Mhm.
goal is that you're living your best life as you grow through this.
Yes. That is important. Thank you so much for that, Sharon. Hey,
Welcome.
before we go,
Go, go. Okay.
before we go, before we
Yeah.
go, we talked a little bit earlier, before we actually got on
You gonna go
about the
ahead?
importance.
You ready?
I'm going to go, I'm just a little bit. I'm just going to go just a little bit, just a little bit,
Okay.
just a little bit. So first of
Okay.
all, for me, I think that you are a wonderful coach. I think that you are a wonderful therapist and so much more. And I see you operate at the highest level of integrity. And with that being said, I've also seen and met along my way coaches and so on and so forth that and I'll be more specific. I've met, let's say, some relationship counselors or coaches that have a string of broken relationships behind them and cannot themselves hold on, maintain, get into, join together, whatever, a relationship. And it causes me to pause when I see that, right? Um, so with that being said, how important is it to find a coach or therapist that really not just has your best interest at heart, but are truly authentically who they are? And because we don't actually know everyone that we may trust with our isms, right? What can one do to at least try to navigate this space? Because there's a lot of people in need of help. I'm a woman and I want to talk to the women. There are a lot of women that are in need of help and support. And sometimes we get entangled in these spaces, um, with unhealthy folks with titles behind their name or in front of their name. But how can we navigate that? Because there's a lot of people hurting for various reasons, and I don't want to necessarily bring up the most recent situation, but there are a lot
Mhm,
of, this isn't new.
mhm.
That situation is just coming to the light for, it's
Yeah.
coming to the light, but it's not new. I've
Mhm,
been watching it and I've seen it and I've been close to it several times. And I want to make sure that while we're talking, you and I, we both believe in therapy. Obviously, you're a therapist to the therapist, and I just believe that it's so important. Um, but I want to make sure that we're at least helping people to be aware and to navigate this field. So if you can just
mhm.
talk to that just a little bit.
Absolutely. I want to start first with this. I think it's very important that when you are connecting with a therapist or a coach, that you understand that you are not going there to live your life in comparison to their lives. So
Mhm.
make sure you do not put them on this pedestal of perfection, because should something happen and they are not up to your standard, it's
Yeah.
almost as if you feel the need to disregard what has been said.
Wow.
there are counselors and coaches. I'm saying both because I know some people go to mental health therapy and they will address relationships as
Right.
well,
Yeah.
things that may impact their mental health or may have been a cause of some of their mental health symptoms. And then you have individuals who go to relationship coaches specifically to focus on how to engage others. And I think what happens is we people will walk in going, "Oh, we need your advice." No, the goal is that they are pulling, or I should say, we are pulling the strengths out of you
Yeah.
for you to identify what it is that you need in a healthy relationship.
Yes.
We are not there to say, do this, do this, do this, do this, and this is going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're going to give you some strategy, some homework, and you're going to say, okay, whether or not that works for you, because we want to know what are your goals in this, not what
Right.
are our goals for you. So if somebody says, you should never go and say, okay, what are your goals for me? No, they should be asking you, what are your goals? What do you want to be able to work on while you're in this process? And what would it look like when you are done with it?
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happens, it's all about the work that you're doing. They're going to give the homework, they're going to give the strategies, they're going to give the ideas, the projects, the homework, whatever. But make sure that your perception is not that they are the end all and the be all
Yeah.
of that process. Because when things don't go right, or you find out that they're not, you know, a god or a goddess, because
Yes.
they're not, none of them are, because that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And people get very upset as if what they said wasn't true.
Yeah.
What they're saying, Queenie, is very true.
It's very true.
They just may not live according to those principles.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'll even say this is why I'm also a therapist for therapists. People think that because we are therapists that
Yeah.
we are exempt from life, that we don't go through things, and that because we know what to do, we should know how to do this on our own. We
Yeah.
need outlets too. We need preventative work too, but we also may need to address something from the past or from the current.
Yeah.
And we also need people that are skilled to work with us. And so make sure that when you're going to someone, that you didn't just find them on social media just doing stuff, sitting in the park, in the car, on a plane.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, look for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
credentials, look up their reputation, um, look up the feedback, see what the clients are saying about them. Don't get caught up in the person and swear by their words. See what your experience really should be with a licensed person or someone with some true backing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you're saying that because I think that so many people, so many of us, have ran into these situations and I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it several times and it's, I witnessed it once when I was initially starting taking up my or becoming coach certified, right? Getting this coaching
Hmm.
certification. And I remember when I was studying and I met a few people that I just felt were just master manipulators. And it left me with a bad taste in my mouth about coaching. And I'm not a good salesman. I can't sell no cars, girl. But then I know other people that can, as I heard someone can talk a cat off of a fish truck. I'm not that. I'm not
That's
that.
funny.
So
Yeah,
it
I'm
it
not
it,
there.
it grieved my spirit, thinking like I got to manipulate. So, but then of course, I realized, what, Queenie, you are going to operate at a different level of integrity. Like you have a moral barometer and code that you live by. So
Mhm.
you won't turn this into something different. And so, I wanted to talk about it because I keep seeing it over and again and everyone has recently seen it. But people like you and I, we've seen it as well before this became so, you know,
Yeah.
blown out of proportion.
It,
I
but
mean, it's not really out of
that's what
proportion.
makes we're not surprised, right? So we're
That's what
not
we're not
surprised
surprised.
by
It's
it.
like,
There's so many people who are like, "Can you believe it's like, "Mhm,
yeah.
yeah, yeah."
Yes. Yes.
People are tempted. People get caught up in stuff. People make
Yeah.
decisions. They make unwise decisions at that
Yes.
really put them out there. Um, some people use it to their advantage. I mean, and then they they monetize off of it even
Yes.
afterwards. So
Even
it's one of
afterwards.
those things that yeah, I mean, it, this
Yes,
social media thing is real tricky.
it is.
Um, it's real tricky, and you just have to
Yes.
be careful what information you take in. Like the old folks used to say, eat the meat, throw away the bones, right? They
Yes.
would say
And
take
that's truly what this
what's
is.
relevant to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
and if there's something that you believe is true that people are saying, take what you need, but keep moving. Again, don't idolize the person. Take the
Mm,
information, keep
mm,
moving.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
idolize the person. Take what you need, apply it to your life as you see fit. But remember, that's your journey. It's not theirs. Even if you're paying someone, again, it really should be goal oriented. What are your goals? What is it that you're trying to address? It should not be the goals or the advice of the person.
Mm,
And even if you ask them for advice, you still have to pick through it with a fine tooth comb to see if it
mhm.
truly applies to you. Because one message and one statement does not apply to everyone. So be careful that
Mhm.
you don't get caught up in that whole, well, it worked for so and so, so I'm going to do it. Be
Yeah.
careful. You are, and if you guys notice, I keep saying that word, that statement, be careful, because you don't want to get caught up. Do
Mhm.
the work.
Do the
Don't
work.
just live according to someone's advice. Do the work for yourself. Learn who you are, learn what you need, learn what's best, set the boundaries, and be vulnerable
Yes.
and take the risk. With relationships, there are risks. It's not going to be perfect. So when they're telling you things such as, if somebody shows up with this, that doesn't work, run. But it probably worked for someone else because they took a risk. You just don't know until you try.
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. That is so, so, so true. All right, Sharon. Listen, girl, I gotta let you get out of here because listen, I know you. Like I said, I know you're busy because I see it. I see you constantly making moves, and oh, girl, you have some brand new, beautiful photos out there. I mean, you got a lot going on. A lot going on. But Sharon, it is
Right.
so so good to see you, and I'm I'm so happy to have had this time to share this space with you. I'm honored to have you here. You've always been a wonderful friend to first Bar Talks brand, and now to the relationship zones.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. That was a 2020 pivot. That was a 2020 pivot. But I'm so grateful for you and of course your husband who is a dear friend of mine. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful
Yeah.
for both of you. And I
Thank
appreciate you honoring and sharing space with me and leaving this word like you leaving it for the people. Is there anything else that you want to share before you get out of here, other than this website that we need to go to and shut it down for shopping tonight? But that is a shameless plug that I'm giving for the people that's watching it.
you.
But yes, so anything other than that, is there anything else that you want to share with us tonight?
I would say be willing to have a relationship with yourself. As we're talking about all this stuff, connecting with each other, make sure that you're a part of the equation. Please
Mm,
have a relationship with yourself. Learn to be your own friend. Learn to like yourself. Learn to love yourself. Learn to compliment yourself. All these things that you're trying to get out of relationships with others, make sure that you are doing it for yourself first, because you're going to be teaching them how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So
yeah.
please be kind to you.
Be kind to you. Y'all heard that here. Miss Sharon Lawrence has said it. Y'all be kind to yourself. I'm taking that from
Yeah.
me. Thank you so much, Sharon. So
You're
look,
welcome. Thank you so
you know,
much for having me. Thank you.
oh, absolutely. Listen, you are welcome here anytime. If you have any books or anything that you're working on, any new projects, know that you can always share that to the relationship zone, and I will always promote and support you. Um, Speaking of that, is there any other place that we can find you on social media?
Yes, SharonJLawrence.com.
Okay, so everyone, you heard that. Therefore, I'm sure there's some links that
And
are
also, yeah, and also My Sailor Wellness. We can put that
nice.
in the comments. My Sailor Wellness. That's my handle on all social media platforms.
Spell that out for us.
My
My
Sailor
Sayla.
Wellness. Want me to put it in the comments?
Yeah, you can put it in
Connection.
the comments.
Oh,
I'll definitely put it up on the screen. My Sailor
okay.
Wellness.
Yep. And that's my website as well.
Okay.
Um, yep. And so
All
that's
right.
my other
Perfect.
website, but also
Okay.
Sharon J. Lawrence will take you to that as well.
Okay. Well, let me grab this really quick. I'm going to put it over here so others can see it on the screen. That way, they don't blame me for the spell mischeck. So So mysalawellness.com.
Yes.
All right, perfect.
Dot
So
com. But if you're on social media, just at the at sign,
yeah,
my
so
Sailor
you can
Wellness.
do so look, basically we look, you all know how to do this. You're gonna go out
Yep.
there on any website, basically, put in My Sailor
Yep.
Wellness. It's going to take you to Miss Sharon Lawrence's page. It's going to take you to some of either her
Yes.
Twitter, her IG, her Facebook. It's going to take you
Yep.
somewhere and you'll be able to find her. And
Absolutely.
lastly, you can always
Absolutely.
go to the website. She has the sjlawrencecollection.com. What else can we find on this website?
T-shirts, mask, and my books.
Oh, look at that. Okay, so now we don't even have to look. I don't look. I'm not talking about Amazon. I love Amazon, but we don't even have to go to Amazon. We can go straight to the website.
You can. Yep. And there is a button on the bottom. So those the links for the books do go to Amazon, but on the bottom
Yeah.
it says if you want a signed copy, click here. So you do have the alternative, and then that's when I will sign your copy, and the order will come directly to me.
Because I don't have that.
Oh, I got you. I
Okay.
got you. I got you. Yep, we'll fix that.
Look,
We will fix
I
that
ordered
very
it from
quickly. Yep.
Amazon as soon as I saw it come up. I was like, oh, let me get my order now. And I just ordered it from
Oh,
Amazon.
you should have sent me a message. I would have just, yeah. Me and Alicia, we both have copies that we both signed. So
Do
if
you?
somebody
Okay.
reaches out to her, yeah. So I got you covered, girl.
Okay, cool. All right. So, to my listeners, thank you all for joining us tonight. It has been wonderful. If you've joined me throughout the month, I hope you have enjoyed it and had a good time. We had amazing speakers. We're closing it out tonight with Miss Sharon Lawrence. It has been wonderful. I have appreciated, sharing space with all of these people. I've had a great time, and I just want you listeners to just share, re-listen, come back, listen to it again, give it to your family. There's so many great nuggets that are in these Monday motivations that I think you can use throughout the rest of this year. So tap in, listen to it, and apply it to your life, and stay motivated, stay inspired, and stay encouraged. It's your girl Queenie. I am out. Miss Sharon, thank you again for joining us. Bye,
Thank you.
sweetheart.
Bye. Bye, everyone.